I don't stand side by side with nobody till I bleed with them first.
What did we just see? You probably think this world is a dream come true.
When I step into this ring, yeah, bro, I am addicted.
Don't sleep on Luca!
Maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42.
If you fight for your dreams will fight for you.
The 2023 Philadelphia Phillies have about 3 real big problems, and they were on the biggest display from these past 2 series, and looking like it's going to be an issue in this upcoming series. So, as we know, we last left off, we were wrapping up the LA series, the Boston series, and we were just 1 game into the 2-game Toronto series, and things were looking up. As we discussed in that video, their biggest issue was the lineup, and they seemingly fixed it, and the lineup did pretty well. It kind of proved that this lineup should be what we stick with, as after those 2 games we went on to win 3 more, and we were on a 5-game win streak. But like I mentioned at the start of this video, there's 3 big problems, and while they didn't look like they were on display for a couple of games in this series, they really started to show out in the last 2 games. And I know that may seem a bit unfair to, be a bit negative after only 2 games, but when you see the issues that happened in those 2 games, you sort of realize that it's an issue that really needs to be addressed very, very soon. But so, looking at the positives first, we sweep the Blue Jays series, beat them 2-1. Now this was a very close game, as we were down 1-0 after the 5th inning, and we didn't get that 1 tying run until the 9th. But we get that tying run, and we head into extra innings in the 10th, and we get a walk-off as Bryce Harper, he hits it, down the middle. It looks like it's going to be a double play, except the Blue Jays have an error, and it allows for Edmundo Sosa to come in and score the game-winning run. Very cool, very fun game. It was also very funny seeing the team trying to celebrate with Harper, and he was very much like, I got this injured I got this injured arm. Can you back up a bit? That was pretty funny to see. After that, we moved on to the Rockies series and made somewhat quick work. Like, it was pretty close at times, but then they woke up around the 7th inning and just did what they needed to do. Alec Boehm had a RBI, Bryce Harper had 2 RBIs, Schwarber had 2 RBIs. A bit of a better game from Schwarber, and it was just a good game. This one, nice and easy. Though it was tied at one point, but then in the 8th they just went off and scored 3, so it was a real good game as well in this one. The next game was a real good one in the sense of, like, they did what you wanted to see, and this was also Ranger Suarez's return game, and they really helped him out, as in that first inning they scored 4 runs, and then the issue then became that they scored 3, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, the Rockies, to be more specific. But Ranger kept it going. He looked pretty good, but they take him out in the 4th. They let him get a decent pitch count in. He looked pretty good for the most part, 4 strikeouts, and then they went to the bullpen for a majority of the rest of the game. Brogdon, Bilotti, Hoffman, and Soto to finish it off. This one was highlighted by the fact that again, we went about like 7 innings just not getting much, but 2 RBIs from Harper, 1 from Castellanos, 2 from Alec Boehm, 1 from Cody Clemens, 1 from Garrett Stubbs. Real good game, but like I said, they just go to 7 innings of outscoring until finally they score again in the 8th. And just to, put the exclamation point on this game, we get a home run from Bryce Harper in the 9th This one was real fun because my dad was like, "Oh, what if he hits a home run?" And it was happened right after, so that was pretty fun. But we get to our main issues at hand, and it's the main issues that you're gonna see throughout this video. And honestly, it also happened in a lot of these games that I mentioned, though they were wins. It still happened a lot in these other games, but it was most prominent in these two games. And the final game of the Rocky series, we lose 4-0. Now, we did get hits, so it wasn't like it was a no-hit game, but that was somewhat the issue. And that's one of the big issues with this team from these past two games. Now, I wish I could give you the exact statistic, especially because they kept mentioning the broadcast, especially for this game and the Giants game. I believe they mentioned it. But maybe that's a bit harder to... Anyways, I forget the exact number, but basically we had gone a certain number of at-bats without scoring when runners were in position. And this Rockies game was one of those biggest examples, and it was real tough because so many times you saw guys get on base, try and get into scoring position, and nothing was done for them, you know. Bryson Stott had 2 hits this game. Trey Turner had 2 hits this game. JT had 2 hits this game. Alec Boehm had a hit, and he walked. Brandon Marsh walked twice. But then you look at the rest of the stat sheet. 3 at-bats for Harper. 0s in all the columns. 2 strikeouts, you know. Kyle Schwarber, 4 at-bats. 0s all across, 2 strikeouts. Other than those 2 walks, Brandon Marsh 0s across, Edmundo Sosa 0s across. Nick Castellanos had 0s across this game, which was pretty rare to see that he couldn't get at least like 1 hit because, you know, he's been doing real well, especially getting those doubles. But yeah, Stott, Turner, and Realmuto and Boehm get on base this game. A lot of times they were in scoring position, like JT was at second, and they just couldn't get a hit to drive these guys in. And that's been a real issue, is that you're getting a lot of these guys on base, you're getting them in scoring position, and you're not bringing them home. And, you know, I get it. The game of baseball is tough. It's a lot easier said than done to just get a hit and, you know, get a good enough hit that these guys are able to score. But at the same time, with as many opportunities as they've had, like I think at one point they said they were like 0 for 15 or something like that in their last, you know, attempts of scoring when there was a runner on base. And I don't know, like that's a bit disappointing, you know, to see that like you have this many opportunities and for whatever reason this team is not able to capitalize on it as much, you know. And again, it happened in the Giants game a lot where, you know, people were getting on base. Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, you know, they were getting on base. Bryson Stott got a hit to get him on base. Harper had a hit. Harper ended up scoring a run in this game as well, but JT had a hit. Alec Boehm had 2 hits. He even had 3 RBIs in this Giants game, but they still lose 6-3, you know. And it's just like, it's real tough to see, you know, these guys doing all this work and really struggling to be like brought home, you know. And even in those games, like I said, even in those games that we did well, there was still times where people, you know, weren't brought in. Nick Castellanos had 2 hits in that second Blue Jays game, but, you know, no runs scored for him. There was only 1 RBI in that game, and, you know, the other one technically came from Bryce Harper with the walk-off, which was in extra innings. So yeah, that's a real big glaring problem that we've been seeing with the Phillies these past couple of games. Even the games where they're successful and win, they're really struggling to capitalize when they get runners, not just on base but in scoring position. Like that's the biggest thing is they're in scoring position, and you're just like you're leaving them stranded on those islands, man. And what doesn't help is games like that last Rocky series where Aaron Nola comes in to pitch, and the defense just decides that they're gonna make error upon error, and it really hurts Nola. I mean, Nola still goes 7 innings in this game. You know, they still let him go, and he did pretty good, other than the 2 runs scored in the first and the 2 runs scored in the fifth. But a lot of the times it was like the defense just wasn't helping this guy, you know. Now, he did let up a home run, but other than that, a lot of times it was defensive mishaps that were allowing guys to get on base, allowing these guys to get hits, and it was the same thing in the Giants game. I think if I remember correctly, a lot of the errors were coming at the hands of Edmundo Sosa, Trey Turner. I think there was even errors on the part of Brandon Marsh and Schwarber, like in the outfield a couple of times. It's kind of tough to remember, but yeah, not what you want to see out of this team defensively. And I know that's always been the biggest issue is with the way this team is constructed. You're not going to get the best defense out of it, you know. Now, you get some pretty good defense out of Brandon Marsh a lot of times. Castellanos, with the way that they play it, you know, and they play him, you know, they best utilize his defense. But there are still times where, you know, him and Schwarber can't get out there fast enough to get a ball. But too many errors we've been seeing with the infield, you know. Sometimes it's Bryson Stott at second, Edmundo Sosa at third, Trey Turner. You know, we see them, it's like they make sometimes they make a bad throw, they do something like wrong. Like I can't tell you how many times we saw Sosa and Turner let, you know, routine plays pass them by, you know, like a ball gets past Sosa. Or there was the one play where, you know, it looked like Turner kind of took it casually is what they said, where it's like the ball went and like instead of like jumping to ensure, like, you know, he basically just kind of put his hand up in the air thinking, oh, it's going to be easy, you know. Like that, at least that's what the announcers were saying, you know. He kind of put his hand up, made it look like it was going to be easy, and it just went right through his glove. And, you know, it allowed someone to get on base, and it's just like you can't be making mishaps like that. Now, obviously, there's going to be errors from time to time, but in these games, it was most evident that it was like, man, these guys, this is becoming a glaring issue with the defense, that they're making a lot of errors, and the errors are coming on the simplest of plays, you know. So that's something real tough to see. And lastly, our biggest, or not necessarily the biggest issue, but the most glaring issue that was most demonstrated in especially yesterday's game to the Giants. What do the Phillies do when it comes to a fifth starter? Where do we go? You know, we already know we have Nola and Wheeler locking down the 1 and 2. And then now with Ranger being back, we know Ranger and Taijuan Walker can hopefully give us a good 5-6 innings. You know, Ranger obviously only went to 4 in that one game. But, you know, as he recovers with time, he can hopefully give you about 5. And same with Taijuan Walker. You hope he can give you about 5 or 6. But then there's that dreaded 5th spot. What do you do there? Well, in the Giants game, the Phillies thought, hey, let's put Connor Brogdon out there. And everyone goes, Brogdon? He's a relief pitcher. What do you mean you're going to start him? Well, they decide to start him. The Giants get 2 hits off of him in, was it the first inning? I honestly don't remember. This says he pitched less than oh yeah, see, he let up 2 hits and a walk. He struck someone out, and then they switched him out for Bailey Falter, who struck out the last guy. So I believe bases were loaded. Falter got him out of there, so it's like, my goodness, what were they thinking starting Brogdon when he didn't even go the full inning, But you're like, okay, well, let's see what we got in Falter, Well, he lets up a home run in the second. He lets up a lot of singles and lineouts that end up... Oh, look at this. Lineout, sacrifice fly dropped in the second inning. And, the Giants just went on a scoring tirade in that second inning. They scored 6 runs in that second inning. And Bailey Falter lets up 8 hits, 6 runs, and only had 2 strikeouts. He let up a home run. What are we doing? And not only that, he does all that, and we let him go 4 more innings after that before switching him out. And the Giants don't score after that. They don't score for the rest of the game. And you're just like, they get a couple, I don't even remember if they got much hits after that. But yeah, you're just like, what? You're just kind of left speechless at the fact that, the Giants don't even score the rest of the game, but it's because of, this confusion at who to really start, And it doesn't look like Falter can really start. You don't really have anyone that can be a starter. Like, I saw people proposing Matt Strahm, but other people have been saying Matt Strahm has pitched as many pitches this year as he did last year. And that was like a full season, or like throughout the full season. He's already matched that this year because of those games where he did have to start. And you're like, oh, well, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is, apparently what we're hearing from what I've heard from fellow Philly fans is, he doesn't really have an arm that's built for starting, And so you're like, well, what are the options? You can't just keep having a game like this every 5th game where you're going to just have to go to someone in the bullpen and hope they can give you like 2 innings each every time you switch. And it seems like our only option is Falter, but how much do you want to rely on Falter when it seems like this guy gives up all these hits and scores early and then gives you, the shutouts that you need, or, holds them and doesn't let them score, It's a big issue on hand for the Phillies that I really don't know how they can address, because even when you look towards their farm system, their development system, they don't got much options. And though you maybe want to look for a trade, it's like, what are they going to end up giving up for a trade, Especially for a 1-year rental. It's like, you don't want to sacrifice too much from this team. But changes do have to be made if you have championship aspirations or even just playoff aspirations. It's going to be a very tough road. Got 2 more games in San Francisco. Got the Cubs. Got Arizona. But with these 3 big glaring issues, it's going to be real tough. I don't expect it to be as big of an issue, especially pitching in the next couple of games, because I believe we're going to have Wheeler next, I believe. I don't know that for sure. Let me check today's game. Have they announced it? I don't see any announcements as to who's pitching these games. Oh yeah, Zach Wheeler and Alex Cobb. Okay, so hoping for a better game out of Wheeler. And then the final Giants game is going to be pitched by Taijuan Walker. So hoping for a bit better. But yeah, 3 big glaring issues are the defensive errors, leaving runners stranded, and the Phillies really need to find out what they're going to do when it comes to their 5th starter at pitching.